What is up, Art Junkies? I hope y'all had a great weekend. First off, I'd like to thank one of y'all. I'm not sure who it was, but one of y'all reached out to Tom and Dan and recommended me to be a guest on their show. I've been a listener of Tom and Dan since they were on the radio back in the day when I was in high school, and then I followed them when they left terrestrial radio and started to do their own podcast. For those of you that don't know who Tom and Dan are, they have the #1 podcast in Orlando for the past several years. They've got another show they call A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan that plays on the #1 talk radio station in Orlando. And as I mentioned, one of y'all reached out to them and recommended me as a guest on their show, and they contacted me, and I got to be a guest on their most recent episode, Friday, to talk about my background, the Art Junkies podcast, and starting up my own welding school. I had a blast chatting with these two. And if y'all want to check out the episode, just search for A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan on your favorite podcast app. The title of the episode is Don't Pull My String, and it aired on June 9th. Whoever recommended me, I just want to say thank you so very much. It was awesome to sit down with these two. They're two of my favorite podcasters. They've been a huge inspiration for me when I took over the Art Junkies podcast, and to be a guest on their show was just an awesome opportunity. So whoever it was, thank you. All right, moving on. Today's guest is Diesel D, also known as Tig Devil on Instagram. He's a self-taught machinist out of Toronto, Canada, and he also taught himself how to weld, and now he's doing awesome TIG welding art projects. In this episode, we discuss his journey, some of the events we've both attended, and some of the different art projects that he's done. We'll get right into the episode after a quick word from our supporters. Today's episode of the Art Junkies podcast is brought to you by Rockmount Research and Alloys, the brand that believes in strength, reliability, and innovation. Introducing their Neptune aluminum MIG wire, with an impressive 40,000 pounds of tensile strength, taking your repairs to the next level. The Neptune MIG wire is specifically designed for welding aluminum sheets, extrusions, pipe, and castings. Perfect for both the amateur hobbyist and the professional maintenance welder. It's engineered to produce superior results with very minimal skill. That's right, minimal skill. It makes perfect welds accessible to everyone, revolutionizing the way we work with aluminum. For those of you that have been involved with the ship construction, truck bodies, or cargo tank creation, Neptune MIG should be your first choice. It brings durability and resilience to your work, ensuring that every project stands the test of time. But Rockmount's Neptune MIG isn't just for big industry. It's also perfect for adding a touch of aluminum magic to your home. Whether it's working on light fixtures, furniture, windows, or door frames, Neptune MIG empowers you to create, repair, and innovate, delivering professional results every time. And here's the kicker. It's particularly recommended in all types of structural aluminum fabrication where post-weld heat treatment isn't feasible. That's the beauty of Neptune MIG. It adapts to your needs, making every project a breeze. Check out Neptune MIG as well as all the other great products at rockmountwelding.com. And as an added bonus for listeners of the Art Junkies podcast, you can get a free 1-pound tube of Tartan AAA when you spend $250 or more on Rockmount Products and use code word AJP at checkout. Get the job done right the first time, every time with Rockmount. We're also brought to you by Outlaw Leather, makers of the original custom pipeliner welding hoods. Outlaw makes the coolest custom hoods in the industry. If you can dream it up, Outlaw can put it on a hood for you. Whether it's a personal logo, favorite sports team, military branch of service, or your company's logo. I've been dealing with Outlaw for the past several years and personally own several hoods and other custom pieces from them. If you have a design you want to bring to life, reach out to info@outlawleatherllc.com and they'll make it happen. They even do custom rod pouches and arm pads as well. And if you're a welding school, you can reach out to them and get educational pricing and get your school's logo put on your student's hood. And you can rest assured knowing that each custom hood is handmade right here in the USA in Pasadena, Texas. In addition to their custom leather work, Outlaw carries a full line of awesomely designed hoods and other leather work on their website, outlawleather.com. And as a thank you for being a listener to the Art Junkies podcast, you can save 15% on all in-stock handmade leather goods when you use Art Junkies in the discount box at checkout. Hit them up today and stand out on the job site or in your shop with Outlaw Leather. All right, you know what time it is. Fire up your machine, drop your hood, and turn me up 5.
You're listening to the Art Junkies Podcast, helping you make every weld better than your last with each episode. And now your host, Jason Becker.
Diesel, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, an honor.
Thanks. Yeah, we got to link up momentarily at FabTech last year. That was the first time I got to meet you in person.
Yep.
Then we did Ink the Bay shortly after.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Was it?
Yeah, I enjoyed myself. I mean, the show itself was a little bit, it wasn't put together well because I guess the organizer, but I had fun. I mean, all the people that were there, all the people I got to meet. For the first time, I actually got to teach some people some things, which I didn't even know I really could do. But
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that was the part that I enjoyed, was hanging out with everybody, seeing, all the folks that came in to the event. So a bunch of us got to hang out and like shoot the shit and, kick back, have a couple drinks, relax. So, I mean, that part was definitely fun. I was hoping it was going to be a little bit more interactive, I had, more people stop by or, something like that. But, yeah, we just didn't get the traction. But no, it was great meeting you, the folks over at Fronius, hanging out with Dabs, hanging out with Brian, Frank from Uniweld, Lucky Chucky, like all those people. It's always a good time when we get together.
Well, yeah. I can't wait for the next time.
I know it'll probably be FabTech, I would imagine, unless you're doing any other events between now and FabTech.
No. Well, just local stuff. It won't be anything big like that. Like there's a thing called the CNE in Toronto here.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of registered for that to do just to display my art, but it's more, this one is more like geared towards cat people. So it's basically at a cat show, and they want me to gear my art more towards cats. So I'm going to try that out and see, because it's a big event. A lot of people show up. I think I can make some traction there because everybody loves animals, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I got a whole house full of animals. I got, what do we have now? I've got a dog. We've got a cockatiel. I have 2 sugar gliders. My wife's got a bunch of like gargoyle geckos and leopard geckos and all that stuff. So it's kind of cool. Kind of like a little mini zoo.
Yeah, we have just 2 cats. That's about it.
Okay, you ever seen them? The Bengal cats?
Yeah, so
those things are freaking badass. They are super cool. So the reason why I decided to go this cat show thing is because this year I attended a show. And I saw all these displayed booths and stuff, and they actually had a lot of cats there, like a lot of Bengal cats and stuff like that. And that was my main reason for going, was to go see all the cool cats. But I just saw a different opportunity where I could actually maybe make some money on like doing my art stuff there. So I was like, let me jump on this. Yeah, it sounds like a pretty neat event.
Yeah, it's all right.
Are you doing can weld?
I have no idea.
I think it's in October 16th timeframes, like somewhere right around there. I'm supposed to go up there with Max Ron with the Canadian Welding Bureau podcast. He invited me up.
Yeah.
It's going to be up in New Brunswick.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I haven't heard really anything about it. So that's the first time actually hearing about it.
How far away is Toronto from New Brunswick?
We're quite a ways. I got to take a plane there.
Oh, damn. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And I think all my vacation time is all booked up because in July, I'm leaving for Italy to go to Sicily for 3 weeks. And that's nice. All my, yeah. And then what was it called? The Ink the Bay. I took some time off there. Mm-hmm. And then FabTech, I'm going to take some time off. So I think that eats up pretty much everything.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of travel in a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, how do they do it in Canada? Because like down here in the States, like 40 hours is like a typical vacation. But I know like the folks over in Europe, they go on holiday. So I mean, they get like an entire month off. What do they do up in Canada? Like what's like the standard?
So we have they go vacation pay on time worked. There's a certain, so I think before 5 years, it's a certain percentage you get for time worked, and then after 5 years it's like a little bit bigger of a percentage. And then if you want to take time off, you can actually go on vacation and you get a paycheck to go on vacation, right? Mm-hmm. Or you could stay working, and what they do is just give you another check, which it's not a good idea to do it that way, because then you get taxed in the end for everything, because you got a whole lump sum. You were working plus your vacation pay, and then the government just screws you that way, right? So it's better to take the vacation because you're not working, you're getting your money.
Mm-hmm. And you guys get taxed pretty heavily up there, right?
Oh, on everything. Yeah.
I seen. So somebody ordered like an Arc Junkie sticker pack the other day, and like and they're from California, and like their taxes out there are outrageous, man. They paid just as much in taxes as they did for the stickers and the shipping.
Yeah, I think they're pretty close to us, actually. It's funny because so there's ways around that if you send it as a gift. So all my stuff that I do, basically, a lot of people are always like, "Oh, it's shipping to the States. It's going to be expensive," but actually, it isn't. So what I do is I send it as a gift, and the person didn't pay anything for it, so they don't have to pay any duty or taxes on it because I'm giving it to them.
Oh, gotcha.
So that's kind of like a little bit of a loophole, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's what I do pretty much.
Okay. Now, with your regular day job, are you welding at your regular 9 to 5?
No, so it's a little bit interesting. It's a machine shop, and it's a lot of machining. So we work for a huge company called DeFasco. I don't know if you've heard of it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so DeFasco is they make metal. All the metal in Canada, it gets made there.
Oh, damn! You're like right there at the beginning of it all.
Yeah, basically. So all their big trucks, all their everything, all the big machinery, I get to work on. So anything that comes in, I gotta repair, weld repair, or whatever, right? Or machine. But I don't get to weld as much as I would like to. And that's actually how I kind of got started, was at this job. I just kind of picked up one day and was like, okay, let me try to do this. We have these things called idler arms. And we have to weld those together when they ask for new, instead of rebuilding the old ones, because sometimes the plate's bent or whatever. So I would have to weld it up, and I was like, oh, let me try this. And I decided to just pick up the MIG one day and went at it. And yeah, of course it wasn't the greatest, but every time I was just really enjoying it so much that I started doing it more often. And now I became the main welder at the shop now. I am the guy.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So like, I mean, you're self-taught at the shop?
Yeah, self-taught. Everything, even from MIG to stick, TIG, all just basically picking up, trying, making mistakes, and, pushing forward.
But welding's a hell of a skill to try to learn on your own.
It is. I love our community because, when you have something, you need something, or you're stuck on something, you can pretty much ask someone, and, most of the people are really willing to help you and teach you what they know.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been really fortunate. That plus YouTube, best school to learn from is YouTube.
YouTube University.
You want.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. If you can't find it on YouTube, I mean, yeah, you're always good to go on Instagram, talk to some of the welders on there. And there's a lot of cool guys there that are so willing to share what they know, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a guy reach out to me, I think when I was with weld.com, he reached out to me via Instagram or whatever, and he needed some help. He was kind of preparing for just like a regular structural welding test and everything, 3G. And he's like, I just can't, I need help. And I'm like, dude, I can't see you. Like, I was like, you know what? Screw it. Like FaceTime. So we did like a video or whatever. And he kind of just propped his phone up, and I was like, okay, drop your rod angle a little bit. I was able to talk to him and kind of coach him through. And like, he was out in Texas and I was in Florida. So, I mean, but it's really cool that you've got that resource. You can lean on these people, because you scroll through Instagram and you see people, you're like, I want to learn how to do that. Or how do you do that? And they're more than willing to help you. I mean, like a lot of people are like, what's your settings? Well, the settings really aren't going to do a whole lot for you, because you could have the same exact settings on a completely different machine and you're going to get different results, because at a lot of times it's work angle or travel angle or, the arc length and like all these different things you don't think about. But a lot of people think if they just know what your settings are, they can do exactly what you can. But that's where when reaching out, talking to somebody and saying, like, hey, what are some of the like the little tricks or nuances of what you're doing. And most everybody, I haven't run into anybody in the community that, would tell me, oh, that's, I don't want to tell anybody that, or it's proprietary, or, like figure it out. Everybody's been more than willing to help me anytime I've reached out. And, that's why I'm so willing to help other people when they reach out to me.
Yeah, I feel the same way too. And it's funny because I never ever thought I would actually be at this position. When I first started, it was just kind of, well, the thing was, I didn't even know about it. Well, I knew about Instagram, but I was always that one guy that was like, oh, I don't want to get on this new technology stuff. And, I guess I was a little bit backwards about it and didn't really want to get into the whole Instagram, Facebook thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got into it, which was a little bit late, I found that I learned a lot more. If I just gave into this way earlier, I would have been way ahead of where I should be, kind of thing, right? And that's kind of how I even started the art. Was I saw my first art piece on Instagram by Mattia Bros.
Yeah,
and I was just like, holy crap, man, this is unreal. I reached out to him, and first thing he said, he was like, you know what? Grab a welder and start practicing. So that's what I did.
What was your first machine?
I went with the Everlast 255 EXT water cooled.
I love that. I got it in my garage right now, dude. I love that machine.
It's so funny. It's like, well, I didn't need it at the time because I was literally just getting into it. But I was thinking, well, future, if I'm going to be doing this, or I want to learn this because it has aluminum, you got all kinds of things, and it's 255, so you could go heavy, right? I was like, let me go with something decent so I don't have to keep upgrading all the time.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It was a nice starter basically for me, and I've taught myself quite a bit with that machine. I still use it till today.
Yeah. It's a good run of machine. And I mean, like there's a lot of different features and stuff on there. You can get into the menus and you can change and customize everything. Whereas like if you get like one of the smaller entry level machines, like you said, you kind of figure that machine out. You got basic functions on it, and it's like, wow, I really want to mess around with pulse. Okay, well now I got to buy another machine. Whereas if you know you're going to be in this for a while, anything, if you know you're going to do it for a while, like buy once and cry once. Get something good up front, and that way the machine's going to be there as you advance.
Yeah. And I mean, it always pays off for itself. As long as you keep going and you're learning along with it, it will pay off for itself at the end. Like there's no worries about that at all.
Yeah, you can make a lot of money off a welding machine.
Oh, yeah. So we have like this app called Kijiji. I don't know what you guys have in the States for selling or like for job posting, basically, or you could sell cars, whatever.
Yeah,
right?
We had Craigslist for a while.
Craigslist,
yeah,
okay.
Now
yeah,
it's like
we have
Facebook
that
Marketplace
too.
is pretty good.
Okay, yeah. See, but with Facebook Marketplace, you can't job post on there, right?
No, I don't think you can. It's just like sales.
Yeah. So this app, it's called Kijiji, and basically you can buy anything from cars to, you name it, shoes. And you can also advertise your work too, right? Or even if you're a big company and you want to employ people, you can actually put it on there, and have people contact you.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. So that's what I started off with. I got my first welder, and I was like, okay, I learned a little bit here and there. I was like, let me put an ad up for welding, whatever, and no job too big or too small. And I got a few gigs here and there, and that's just kept going from there.
Just like miscellaneous welding, or was it like artwork related, or?
No, yeah, miscellaneous stuff. Like people would need the fences done at their house, or there was one, like a guy needed a trailer. He actually had someone pre-do it before, and when I got there, I was like, holy crap, like who welded this? And I'm the new guy saying that, so I got to tell you how bad the welds were. And I was like, yeah, dude, man, this is not going to pass, because it had to pass a certification to be on the road. And when I looked at it, I was like, yeah, dude, this is definitely not passing with these welds. So he's like, okay, well, you know what? I'll hire you and redo it all over again. So that was another one of the jobs that I got to do.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of folks out there that build trailers that should just definitely not be anywhere near a welding machine. I bought I needed a trailer, so I was on Craigslist. I ordered a trailer off Craigslist, and I guess this guy builds them up in Tennessee, and he drives them down. He'll put like 10 of these trailers on a bigger trailer, and then drive them down and just sell them all over the Southeast and stuff. So I bought one of these trailers from him. It had good reviews. The pictures look great and everything. I get it, hook it up to the truck and everything, just like a parking lot deal. It was like $800-900, and I get it home and I see it in the daylight the next day, and I'm like, holy shit! Like these welds these are bad. So I went through. I took it to my buddy's shop and I like ground down every single weld and redid them. I was like, I'm surprised. Like I wouldn't want to haul anything in it. Other than that, I mean, it was solid. It was square. It was built right. Other than the welds were just dog shit.
Yeah, I see that a lot. Actually, it's funny. When you get into the trade, it's like everything you look at, you kind of inspect. Where, like, if you go to the gym, you're looking at gym equipment. It's like, oh, look at those welds. Like,
yep.
How is this even? How are they even selling this stuff? And they get top dollar for the gym equipment. Right?
Yeah,
it's like, dude, who's welding this stuff, man? Like, it's weird.
That's where you find like your low end, low pay people that are just like dime a dozen. Most of those companies have a very high turnover rate. They don't have a whole lot of skilled labor. They got, trigger pullers essentially. People that have like the painted numbers or the painted tick marks on their machine, so they know exactly where to set it because they don't know how to set up their machine on their own.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that, and a lot of people, especially those that are new to the industry, they'll find that once you learn how to weld or once you understand what a good weld is, you'll start inspecting everywhere you go. If I go to the theme park, I'm looking at welds. If I go to an amusement park or, like anywhere, I'm looking anywhere there's a weld, I'm looking at welds. You're on a ferry
so
somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hilarious that's the one job that you're not at work and you're still going to look at it no matter what. It's like, it just attracts your eye, Well,
I think you want to see where you stack up to other people. I think that's kind of like my thought process is like, I wonder, whoever did this, I wonder if they can weld better than I can. Because it's always like, it's an ego thing with welders. You go look at a weld and you're like, damn, that's actually pretty good. Or, wow, I can't believe they let that out of the shop.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, I went up to downtown Disney Springs over here, the new parking garage that they had. And as we're walking, I'm looking at all the, the embed plates and everything, how they're welded and the handrails and stuff that they got on there. My wife's like, what are you doing? Like, at this point, she knows. She's like, you're looking at welds, aren't you? I was like, yeah, I can't help it. It's like a moth to a flame. I want to see how I stack up.
Yeah, I get that.
So now your shop, when you do, like, what type of machining and stuff do you do?
So I personally work on a vertical lathe and there's a boring mill. So I do all the big stuff. We have like 3 lathes that are just for doing shafts and stuff like that. And then we have some CNCs there as well that are smaller mills too. But for the big stuff, it's just the vertical lathe and the boring mill. And those are the 2 big things I work on.
I got you. That's one skill set that I've... Oh, go ahead.
Actually, to tell you the truth, I'm self-taught on that as well.
Really?
Literally self-taught. I never knew. So you probably don't know this about me. I used to be a chef before I got into this industry, into the trades. And I just couldn't deal with it anymore because the weekends, you're always working weekends. Long weekends, you're always working. And late nights, right? So it's like, I didn't want to do it anymore. And I was like, okay, let me go for a change here. And I was like, okay, go into the machining aspect of it. And that's how I started. Just went from shop to shop, kind of learned, figured things out. Again, YouTube was a big thing for me, right? Watched a bunch of videos on YouTube. And when I was at work, I would write everything down. Like when somebody was teaching me something, I had a pen and paper, or well, not a pen and paper, a book, and I would be writing everything they were saying pretty much. And I learned that machine inside out. And then you learn even more when you're trying to fabricate things. Or when I first started, I started as a brake press operator. So doing all the bends and stuff, doing the math, you start to figure out certain things that the machine can do and what it can't do, and you go from there.
It's like School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Damn,
The best way to learn is to just get in it. Well, for me, at least, because I've never been good at school. So for me, it was always a hands-on thing. You get me in there, I'll probably do it better than the person teaching me how to do it.
So you're pretty mechanically inclined.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've rebuilt a motor for my car 2 years ago. First time. Never done it before.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive, man. So why machining, or why did you get into like metalworking industry? What was it about that like pulled you from being a chef into getting into like metalwork?
I always liked working with my hands, and I kind of was drawn into the machining aspect because you can just make anything out of metal. You can literally machine anything, and I just always thought it was super cool. So I was like, okay, let me give it a shot and try it out. And I did. And it's got me to welding, which I love even more.
Mm-hmm.
I actually love welding more than I actually love machining.
Yeah, that's one skill set that I want to learn more about is machining. So we just bought a new a knee mill. Well, it's not new. We bought a knee mill. It was actually off one of the dudes, Nathan, off of Instagram. So he's like local to Orlando. He listens to podcasts and everything. And he reached out and he's like, "Hey man, I'm selling this knee mill. You know anybody that's interested?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think I'm interested because I can use that for doing all my destructive bend tests and everything. Because you can mill off backing strips. So I can mill off test plates, like all
Huge
that stuff.
Time saver.
Oh yeah, it's
Huge
way better than
saver.
a grinder. Like I've operated a knee mill for years, but I've always used it as like a kind of a mill, but like as a glorified drill press. But there's so much you can do. Like he built a set of brass knuckles it's actually a blowgun, but it looks like brass knuckles, just off this manual mill. And it's like, how do you do that? That's something I want to get into is once we get it in the shop and wired up. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to mill off a bunch of backing strips and, put bevels on plates and stuff like that. But I want to start messing around with that and see exactly what I could do with a manual mill. I mean, the sky's the limit.
There's a ton.
Between that and a welding machine, I mean, you can do just about anything.
Oh yeah, you're pretty much set if you have those two things. I mean, it's always good to have a lathe as well, like a small lathe if you have the room in your shop.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's always good things, like say if you weld something, for instance, like actually yesterday, the guys had machined a part, and then they didn't take into consideration that this has got to get welded. So it was like basically a round piece like this and a bar that needed to get welded straight onto this round piece. And what they did was they milled out a pocket, but not deep enough that the rod could actually sit in there and be sturdy.
Mm-hmm.
So I had one guy holding it with his hand, and I was trying to tack it to be straight. And I'm like, okay, go check it on the lathe for true, right? And he's like, oh, no, it's good enough. Don't worry about it. Weld it up. I'm like, all right. So weld it up. He looks at it, and the other boss looks at it and he's like, dude, it's crooked. I'm like, yeah, I told you to check it for straightness, right? And he's like, okay. So again, this is where the lathe comes in handy, is they just machined all the weld off, and then we just kind of bent it a little bit to make it 90 all the way around and welded it back again.
Yeah, that's like as a machine shop, you definitely need to have a welder nearby. So when I was in the Marines, we had the unit that I was with originally, we had a machine shop and a welding shop. Like we made up one platoon between our two skill sets. And a lot of times they would, like, if they over milled something, we would have to do like a surface buildup, or somebody would bring something in and, they broke off a part. Okay, we'd go ahead and do like weld metal buildup on there so they can go ahead and machine it back down to the specs, or, drill holes out or whatever. So it's kind of like having a magic eraser for metal, when you get a welding shop next door.
Oh yeah, big time. So if you go on my Destructive Asylum 13 Fab page on Instagram, I do post some of the stuff that the mess ups that they have at work. And Yeah, there's quite a few like weird things. There was one where there was a thick piece of plate. I think it was almost 2 inches, and the machinist had drilled the holes the wrong way where it was supposed to be, first off, but then they had already machined it to size. Like he didn't leave any material to, in case there was a mistake that they can and finish it at the end.
Hmm.
He machined the whole part, right? So then they had to cut off a piece and they give it to me to weld. They put two chamfers on it. Like they were at least half-inch thick chamfers. Actually, probably more. It was probably about an inch. And they're like, okay, when you weld this, you can't make it bow either way. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you're not giving me any tolerance for bowing? He's like, no, you can't. And I was like, okay. It was a good challenge. I was like, okay, challenge accepted. And I did it. Came out pretty good.
Yeah. Heat distortion's a pain in the ass, man, especially like working with different alloys like stainless. Stainless draws like a bitch.
Oh, yes. I find that with the artwork quite a bit.
Now, when you do your artwork, do you like weld it down to like a really like thick, heavy piece?
No, so I have three pieces. Like I have one that's an inch thick, and I don't really use that one a lot just because it's a bitch to always put it up on the table and take it off. Just because I do my artwork at work right now till I get my garage set up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have one that's like a 3/4 and one's a 1/2 inch. I use the 1/2 inch and 3/4 the most. But yeah, I tack it all down and then away I go.
Yeah, you gotta have something.
But even still,
you gotta have something to hold it down. I know Dabs uses. I think he's got like an inch and a half piece, like thick.
yeah,
That's kind of a little bit bigger than the portrait sizes he typically welds, and he'll weld it down all over the place and then even when he cuts it free, it still kind of warps quite a bit.
Oh, big time, yeah. Well, it's so weird. Sometimes there'll be stuff that I do that has had a ton of weld on it, and I'll go to zip it off, and it's flat. Like I'm waiting for it to pop off at a corner,
mm-hmm.
and it didn't pop. I'm like, okay, I move it, and it's like, holy shit! Like this thing is straight as hell. Then there's other things, and I'll weld, and it doesn't even have that much weld, and yeah, it's like
turns into a potato chip. Yeah. That's always
crazy.
That was the thing I'd always wonder about Mattia is like with his stuff, he would do like massive portraits, like big pieces. Like how do you control the heat in that to where it's not warping and everything? Because he did that big ass koi fish.
Yeah. So the thing is, I think when you do stuff like that, you literally got to take your time and let it cool. So you can't what I think I figured out, and I'm not sure if I'm right, but in my head, I'm thinking if I weld a certain amount and keep the temperature to a certain amount on that plate, it won't distort. But the problem is then it's hard to get the colors because you got to have some type of heat in there, right?
Yeah.
So that it's a little bit tricky. When you get some of the colors, you get some of the distortion because there's a lot of heat in there.
That's there's a photo online that I found that I would show students. I'm trying to pull it up now. I would show students, and it's just basically what colors you get at specific temperatures. So like at normal steel is going to be silver. You start getting into like the lighter straw around 350. You start getting a straw color 400 to 440, and these are all degrees Fahrenheit. And then you'll kind of get like a brown color around 500. 540 is like that's where you get your purples. 590 is when you start getting into blues, and 650 is where you get into teals.
Yeah.
So I mean that's pretty, and that was one of the things because I know Dabs, he can control like the colors based off of like travel speed and all that stuff. But you can also like after the fact, once you get it all welded out, get one of those little like pen torches, so you can really isolate exactly where you're going to be able to do it, and then you can put the coloring in after the fact.
You can, but it's very hard. So I do have one of those pen torches, and I find it very hard to like that. In itself is an art.
It's definitely an art.
Like I think it's even better than trying to TIG weld an art piece. If you can color it with a torch, you're on another level because you need to figure out certain degrees. And the problem with stainless steel that I've been finding sometimes, I'm not sure why it's happening, but the colors will turn out nice. And on other times the color, it's just doesn't want to come in. It's not showing up. And I'm just holding the torch in this section for so long. I don't want to overburn it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have no idea what's going on with what I'm doing or how I'm doing it, but I really need to figure that out.
Yeah, it's definitely an art to it. I've seen this. There's this one dude back when I used to have TikTok. I'd watch his videos for hours, but he would take like a polished copper circle, and he had like a little torch, and he did it like in an apartment. So he had like this. He made his own oxygen. He had like this separate machine because Bob Moffat and I were talking about it. But the dude had like this separate, pure oxygen machine. It would just like pull oxygen from the room and like compress it into this system, and then it would come out. And then he just had like, he's probably using like propane as a fuel gas, but he would just like kind of lay the torch at different angles and everything and just make these wicked ass designs with all these different beautiful colors.
I think I've seen that. And another guy who does something similar is he's on weld.com, Dr. Wells.
Yeah, awesome.
He does stuff like that. Like he did this one skull of
the deer skull that he just got done doing.
Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah, that thing's
the
sick.
copper.
Yeah,
and he did all the heat coloring with that too. So yeah, he's on that level as well. He's pretty good with the torch.
Yeah. There's just so much you can do with it though. So what are like typically like what size frames are you doing with these?
I'm all over the place, man. So I try to accommodate the customer. Because these things are not very cheap, and sometimes people don't have the money to spend on a piece of metal or art, whatever you want to say, right? So I try to work with the customer. Like if they're like, oh, well, I only have this much, I'll be like, okay, I'll try to make it fit in something smaller where I'm not using a lot of gas, I'm not using a lot of rod, like as long as I could keep my whatever I'm using, like all my consumables on the low end, I don't mind hooking up the person, because I always think for someone to have an art piece that I've done, it's awesome. Like it I don't know, I think it's pretty cool to be going around and seeing all of the pieces you've done.
Yeah,
so I try to accommodate
cool to have them
the
in
customers.
different areas, different people have it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So what was it that got you into those? Just watching like Mattia and the type of work that he was doing?
Yeah, it was him. He was the whole reason he got me started. It was all him.
Dude's been a hell of an inspiration for a lot of people. I can't believe that, he passed away. He was gone way too soon.
Oh, yeah. It's so sad. Like, I wish he was still around to kind of, I just wonder, I always think to myself, what would he think? Like, where do I stack up? Like I know where I stack up in my mind, and it's always never going to be as good as some of the guys that I think are really good, like Dabs and Mattia. But, like it's always interesting to see what the greats think.
And the cool thing is you can just continuously get better. I mean, you probably learn something new every time you sit down to do one of these pieces.
Oh, yeah. So I even kind of started my own style where it's a layering. So like I know everybody kind of gets a sheet and they just, trace out their thing and weld over top of it. I've done stuff where it's all plasma cut. Like there was an actual piece that I did with a lion. So the lion's heads are shaped into a heart, and you got the male and female shaped into a heart. I plasma cut that out. And then I layered it on top of a sheet that had a background of like in Africa, sort of, the trees and a little bit of grass and stuff like that. So kind of trying to do a little bit different things.
Switch it up a little bit.
Yeah, there was another one I did where I plasma cut everything, the whole stencil, and I welded inside the stencil. So I did all the TIG welding inside and left the stencil on top, so it kind of looked almost 3D sort of.
It's got a little bit more depth to it.
Depth, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's Have you seen Dusty James with Pacific Arc TIG Welding?
Yeah,
he does some really cool stuff, but he also does like airbrush, and then he'll do like engraving tool. So like he'll shade different areas and like paint different things, and then he's got like little speckles in them, and I don't know. You guys that do all that stuff are like super talented.
He's on another level on his art. Like his stuff is just, one, they're huge pieces, and two, it's like his welds are so perfect that it's like, like I look at my stuff and I'm like, okay, I could see where I messed up here and there. You look at his and you're not going to find a single dab out of proportion or anything. Like it's so perfect.
I'm sure he'd be able to like pick his own stuff apart. Like that's the cool thing about, just doing anything. Like if you're the one performing the work, you can see every single flaw in it. But if you just like show it to somebody, they're not going to see it. Like the artist is their biggest critic.
Yeah, I find that.
I've got OCD like that. I'll build something a bit. Like I just built a sissy bar for my stepdad's motorcycle, and like there was some things in there that I was like, I'm not like it turned out exactly how he wanted it, but there was some things that like I was like, like I can see this little flaw. It's not quite perfect here, but I mean that kind of gives it character too.
Oh yeah.
But if you showed anybody else, they'll never see that. Like, but as the artist, you're going to pick yourself apart.
Yeah. Like for me, there's times where actually a good example was I did a piece for a guy that I met at a monster truck show that I was working at. And it's a Mad Hatter sign. So at first I did the piece, and when I finished, I was like, I don't like it. So I told him, I was like, hey, dude, sorry, you know what? It's going to take me a little bit longer. I got to redo this piece. So I went out, grabbed some more metal, redid the piece. When I handed him the piece, he's like, oh, man, that's so sick. When I started looking at the piece that I thought was fucked up, I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I could save this. And what I did was plasma cut it around. And I asked him, hey, are you interested in either having it as a emblem to hang off your mirror, or you can have it as a chain, like put it around your chest? He's like, oh, dude, that's a sick idea. Because at these shows, they make their trucks custom to what they like. It's a theme, right? Mm-hmm. So they go all out, these guys, some of them. So I was like, yeah, man, let me hit this guy up again and see if he's interested. And maybe I could save that piece and not scrap the whole thing, which I did. Turned out pretty good.
So when you get do you get the material pre-polished, or do you polish it yourself?
Yeah, I know it comes pre-polished. Like I buy it that way.
Okay. You get it cut to length or cut to size and everything too?
Yeah. So what I'll do is once I've talked to the customer, they've sent me whatever they want. I'll figure out a size that it will look best in. Like if they want it too small and I just can't make it look good, I'm not going to do it and tell them like, it's not going to look good. You're not going to get the detail. And I just know it needs to be a certain size for you to see certain things, right? So once I've got down the size that it needs to be, then I'll figure out everything out and then call my guy at the metal shop and order everything and then go pick it up next day or day after.
Yeah. Now how difficult is it to work with polished stainless and not like get your fingerprints all over it or like any scratch marks and all that stuff?
So that's the worst stuff. And that's why I try not to work with that as much. And Dabs is really good. Like I don't know how he does not ever get scratch marks on his stuff. Like every piece that I've seen of his just seems so good. And I'm really bad for that. So if I see a scratch on it, for me, it's not going out. Mm-hmm. It definitely isn't going out to the customer. If I get the smallest scratch, and the problem is, at least Dad knows how to buff it out and stuff like that. I don't have all that stuff.
Oh, he's a wizard on a grinder, man, with all the different.
Oh yeah, he just put out a video actually teaching how to do it, how to polish and stuff like that, right? Which is great, but again, it's one, time consuming. Two, you got to buy all this extra stuff. It's like, man, I don't want to get into that. That's a whole other thing. Polishing is a whole other thing. I just don't want to get into it. Mm-hmm. So I've always been, if I see a scratch, it's getting started all over because it's probably quicker for me to redo it than to start buying all this equipment and, no room for it kind of thing.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. This segment of the Art Junkies podcast is brought to you by Everlast Welders, my personal choice for at-home and small business welding machines and plasma cutters. If you're just starting out on your journey, don't feel pressured to pay extra just for a paint job. You can get an Everlast machine for a fraction of the price of some of the other major manufacturers out there without sacrificing performance, features, or a warranty. That's right, all Everlast IGBT inverter machines come with a standard 5-year warranty right out of the box. And Everlast customer service is top-notch. And as an added bonus, you can get a free upgraded foot pedal and TIG torch when you buy any machine that comes with a stock foot pedal when you type in ARC Junkies in the comment section at checkout when you shop everlastwelders.com. Everlast Welders. Weld mean, weld green. We're also brought to you by Workbench Pros. We live in an age where precision and efficiency are expected in our industry, and accuracy is non-negotiable. That's why there's workbenchpros.com. Shop their site today and take your fabrication skills to the next level and decrease time on build and increase productivity and accuracy. Workbench Pros carries a full line of fabrication tables, tools, and accessories, and they provide fast, easy shipping right to your door. Workbench Pros carries all the brands you know and love, like Strong Hand Tools, Fireball, Good Hand, Norton, Stabila, and more. Check them out today and see what you've been missing out on at workbenchpros.com. Workbench Pros, it's where the pros go. Now let's get back to the show. I had to do a gate at Disney. I had to build 2 gates, and the first one took me 40 hours just to build this. It's like a little walkway gate. It's probably 2.5, 3 foot wide, and maybe, I don't know, probably about 3 foot tall. Little square pickets in there, but it was all brushed stainless and polished stainless. So like mirror finish and brushed. So like the brush one, it's linear, so you can't just stick any grinder in there. So if you scratch anything up, you've got to buff it back out and get the grains going right back and everything, so I'd be in there with like a piece of wood and sandpaper to get the grains going back in the exact way that they're supposed to go. And it was a pain in the ass, like working in an iron worker shop. It's not set up to do that, so I got like carpet laid across the table, and I'm getting creative with my ground clamps. That's where I started using a piece of braided cable. So you take like, I did a video on weld.com. Yeah, take that, and because it won't scratch. And then putting like little silicon bronze on all my clamps, my finger clamps and everything, so you could clamp things together. Because like if you clamp something with a regular pair of clamps, it's going to scratch the material. Yeah, but if you take the tips of your finger clamps, whether it's a swivel pad or a regular the point, if you silicon bronze those, it'll scratch, the stainless will scratch the silicon bronze instead of the clamp scratching the piece. So these are like just little things that you start picking up on. But like I said, laid out on carpet and everything. And, like this, the first one took me 40 hours. The second one, maybe 20. But, so the second one I did, I was like, okay, I'm only going to peel the plastic back on this brush stuff just far enough that, where I can make my weld and everything. That way, once it's done, I can peel all that off and I didn't mar the surface. But I was an apprentice at the time. I didn't know any better. In the first one, I scratched the living shit out of it. And, half the time that it took to build it was going back through and reworking it and polishing it and getting rid of the scratches and getting rid of all, the coloring, because you couldn't have any color. We didn't have a passivation system or anything like that. So you gotta, as soon as you get done welding, you gotta hit it with a wire brush, like immediately, just to get the colors, the oxide layers and stuff off.
So I actually want to ask you a quick question, since you said that with the brush stuff, because so when I get stuff for my art, I get number 4 brush. Mm-hmm. Now, when you were saying you were working in the brush, how do you know what grit that you're going to use to get that brush back in?
So I'd kind of eyeball it. Just like I would start off with like a fine grit, so like maybe 220 or something like that. It depends on how bad the scratch is. But it just depends, and like if you got scrap material laying around, like try it, test it out on that. And like don't get me wrong, we didn't have like a whole array of everything that we needed. It was like I was using the DA sanding pads. I would just wrap that around something square, like the end, like wrap it around my wire brush, that just to handle the wire brush, and then work it back and forth in between. But just test it out on a separate piece that you have of the same material and try to get it that way. Because I'm not too familiar. I know there's like different grades of brushed stainless.
Yes.
And I didn't know that for years, but I would just try to match what it looked like aesthetically.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because I always try to figure that out, because when I make a mistake on my art, it's like, okay, like what am I using here to even try to push this scratch out, Mm-hmm. And if you're too fine, you could see the fineness in that, because I've tried it.
Yep.
And then it's like I've gone up to a certain point where it's like, nah, man, you can actually see the mess up. Now the scratch was better off there
Yeah.
than me trying to fix it.
Yeah, I would always say start with a higher grit. That way you can always get rid of that with a lower grit.
That's
but if you
true,
start
yeah,
off start off with a low grit and you cut deep into it, well, now you got now you got to work all the way back up to find that one.
That's true. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, but brushed stainless is a pain in the ass. Polished stainless is a pain in the ass. But that's when I first started out there. That's what we did. We did a lot of handrail for Small World. So I got really good at buffing and polishing stainless like really fast because that's all we were doing for we were working 712s, just building these damn gates. And they had to be like nice, clean, we would wrap them in old blankets and stuff. So the guys, when they came to pick them up before they go do the install, everything would be like nice and clean and smooth and exactly how it had to be. And then they'd take it out in the field and they'd wear like latex gloves or whatever to do a lot of the install. Cause a lot of it was mechanically fastened out in the field. So just to try and keep fingerprints and all that stuff off. We had one dude that he was writing on they had like these perforated panels and he was writing on the panels with a Sharpie. I can't remember what the hell I think he was numbering them. Like, this is number 12, it goes over here. This is number 13, it goes over there. Well, he'd wipe everything down with an acetone to get rid of the Sharpie marks. But depending on the angle you were standing at, it seeped into like the little perforated circles. So you could still see it. So he had to go back out there with, like a small bottle of acetone and pipe cleaners and ream all these damn little holes out to get all the lettering and the Sharpie marks out.
So, yeah, I don't know if you've ever experienced this too. So sometimes with my, the stuff that I use for my frame, so like flat bar, the guys at the place where they cut it, they'll mark it with a Sharpie, like they'll put whatever. And even when you try to sand that out, you still see it. And I don't know how it gets through so many layers of that metal. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know what you could use to get rid of that.
It takes me quite a while to buff that right out.
Yeah, tell them don't give me any pieces that you guys are writing on it with. It's the same thing like with the oils from your fingers, trying to buff out a freaking fingerprint. Yeah. That could be a pain in the ass.
Big time.
So what's the favorite piece that you've done so far?
Oh, man. Hard to say. Well, the last one that I did, I really liked. I did an eye. Mm-hmm. I think I posted it.
I seen that one. Yeah, that looks dope.
Yeah, I really like the colors on that. And then there's one that I have in my washroom that the colors came just amazing. Again, I think it's the evil eye, but it's got like a triangle on it. It's got these weird things on the side. Those are probably my two favorite pieces for the colors, just the way the colors turned out.
Now, do you coat them with anything before you ship them out, or is it just raw material?
No, yeah, raw material. I've tried putting, because I thought maybe if you clear coat it, it will give it that nice shine and shine the color. No, it takes away the oxidization, so it turns like this brownish, weird gold or ugly color.
Oh, okay, that makes it. Well, that and like if you try to put like a clear coat or something, I don't think it would stick. Not on the polished stuff anyway, because it's got to have like texture to bond to, right?
Not necessarily. The clear coat will stick to pretty much anything as long as it dries good. Like you got proper heat and a good temperature.
I wonder if it should. You ever seen Total Boat epoxy, that clear epoxy you can use?
Yeah.
I wonder if you if you were to put one into a frame and then you could like pour the epoxy on the inside. Just because you already have a frame around it. You could fill that with that clear epoxy because that stuff is, it's harder than the hubs of hell and it's clear. It's crystal clear.
So I've thought about that because there was a guy asked me, so he does tables.
Yeah.
The epoxy table stuff. And he's like, hey, why don't you collaborate with me, do an art piece, and I want to stick it in the table. He's like, do your logo. I'm like, yeah, we could, but I don't know if it will work because I was just under the assumption when you put the clear coat, it for some reason, I don't know why, it just counteracts with everything. So I was like, we'll have to try it. What I'll do is I'll weld something and we'll take a little piece of your stuff and put it on and see if it will stay. But we never ever got to it.
Oh, okay.
So it was something that we wanted to try for sure.
Because they do that with, I went up to Lincoln Electric and then Select Arc. They do the same thing. They'll encapsulate, when they do their macro etches and stuff like that, they'll put like the little sample inside of like this little 2-inch diameter, like puck almost. And then they'll fill it with this clear epoxy resin. And I mean, it's crystal freaking clear. I've got one, it's just out of reach. I'll have to show it to you. But it's like crystal clear and it holds that weldment in there. And then once it solidifies, they'll put it into this little polishing machine and it'll sand and polish. You know, it gets the material to like a perfect mirror finish. And then they'll put it under the microscope and they can check out the grain structure and all that stuff. But then to preserve it, they'll put that puck back into like another holder and then they'll top it back off with that epoxy and it just stays in there forever. But it's like crystal clear.
Right on. Yeah. So I worked with epoxy and stuff before too. I used to do I did carbon fiber on my motorcycle. So I was like, oh, let me try this stuff out. And I worked with the resins for a bit. That's something I actually want to give a go with, is trying the resins on top of the artwork to see if it actually works.
I think that would. You should try it.
I'm going to now. I thought we talked about it. Yeah,
just build something, put a frame around it, do like a little logo on the inside, and then like pour that. And then you can use hot glue around the edges on the outside, just because since your frame isn't, I'm guessing it's not 100% welded all the way around.
No, it's not.
So in between your welds, just fill that with hot glue. And then once you can flip it over and then pour the epoxy mix in there. And then once you're done, that hot glue will peel right back off.
Yeah, I'm going to try that. That's a sick idea.
Because I think that's what a lot of those guys use when they do the tables and stuff like that, because they'll have like a piece of charred wood or something like that, and then they'll build a box. Yeah. They'll build a box around it, and then they hot glue the ends together, and then they'll pour their stuff in, and they'll put supports around it and everything to keep it square. But they'll fill it full, and then once it's done, they just peel that plastic, kind of like corrugated plastic. They'll just peel that stuff right back off, and everything holds. Once it's solidified, they do some cool shit with that stuff, man.
Oh yeah. Actually, now that we talked, I'm going to actually reach out to this guy and see if he still wants to do that table, because that was a cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to see if it actually works out too.
I always like if you can incorporate steel and wood, like, or even stainless and wood or aluminum and wood. My buddy Brian Legalio, he makes these. Speaking of, you were talking about selling stuff earlier. I think he uses Etsy. But he makes the bow ties for a lot of woodworkers. So whether it's steel, stainless, or aluminum, because they'll make their tables, but it might have like a crack down the center of it. So what they'll do is they'll kind of squeeze it together and they do like a little bow tie cutout, and then they'll drop a piece of steel in there. They'll glue the steel or whatever. And then once it's done, they'll put like a epoxy clear coat resin over the top, so you can actually see where the repair was made. So it's pretty neat.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's what the hell is it? There's a whole ancient Japanese thing around that. It's not ikigai, wabi sabi or sabi. Yeah, wabi sabi. It's the finding beauty in imperfection. So like if they break something, when they put it back together, they'll outline like let's say it was a cup or something, like a ceramic cup or whatever. When they glue it back together, they'll outline the repair in gold, so you can actually identify. That at one point it was broke, it's been repaired. You can appreciate the fact that you can find beauty in imperfection.
Oh yeah, 100%. I like that. That's pretty sick.
Yeah, there's just so much stuff you can do with it, man. And I think wood and steel, they just complement each other. I built like a keepsake box. My kids had a swing set in the backyard, and it came time to get rid of it. And I had to demo it because like the bottom is made out of cedar, but the bottom part was kind of rotted out and everything. And I was like, well, I can't give this to like another family or whatever. So I'll just, take the whole thing down. And as I'm taking it apart, I was like, this is cedar. It's like, it's naturally water repellent. It's naturally bug resistant. It's going to be around forever. So I made a keepsake box out of it. But then I did a lot of the accents and handles and stuff out of just regular steel, bent it, drilled holes and everything, and just kind of like put little not accessories, accents, like steel accents throughout the whole piece.
Yeah. Did you post it on your Instagram?
I think it's on my Metal Trends account. I haven't been on there much, but it's not on Arc Junkies. It should be on Metal Trends.
Okay, I didn't know you had another account. I'm gonna have to follow you on that as well.
Yeah, I haven't put anything on that one in years, but I mean, that box should
Oh
be on
yeah.
there. But it's like, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 different pictures of it. And I put
Oh,
the Marine
nice. So
Corps
I gotta
logo
check
right
that
on
out.
top. It turned out
Yeah,
pretty slick. I freaking love it.
nice, nice.
So do you do any other type of artwork other than like the TIG welding art, or do you just kind of keep it isolated to the TIG art?
Yeah, so far, well, I have done like bolt statues
Hmm.
made out of bolts. I did for a good friend of mine. So in Canada, we were on vacation in a place called Quebec in Montreal.
Hmm.
That's where the wildfires are right now. So it's about 6 to 8 hours away from me. And they have these humongous statues just made out of bolts, nuts, and everything. They're huge. So when I first saw that, I was like, oh man, that's so cool. I'd love to make one. So, and the couple that we were with was like, oh, you know what? I would want one of those for my backyard. So it's all right, perfect. So that's what I did. I made a mini one for their backyard. And I've always kind of really liked some of the stuff people do with all the how they bend the metal and weld it and then grind it. But it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a whole other story. Like getting into that, it's a lot of work.
Have you seen the one where
I
they
just
do
don't know.
like a bust? So it'd be like the kind of outline of a woman's body or
Oh, yeah,
a
yeah,
man's
yeah.
face or something like that. Have you seen
Yeah.
that stuff? Is freaking cool, but it's
Yeah.
kind of super simple to do.
Yeah, yeah. I've actually seen some stuff like that done with like nuts,
Mhm.
and they'll do like the bust or face with that skulls.
Yeah.
Which is pretty sick too.
Yeah, that's pretty neat stuff. They there's like casting. It's kind of like what they make like a cast out of. So it's like just
Yeah.
strips of cloth, like paper mache cloth almost, and you just dip it in water, and because it'll capture all the detail. So you can just get like
Oh,
a
really?
mannequin and then use this stuff kind of like a mummy, and you just tape the front of it, and then once it completely hardens, you flip it over, and then you can fill it full of nuts and bolts and washers and whatever, and then weld it out.
Okay, so I didn't know that's how they did it. I always wondered. I was like, man, how did they make this stuff?
Yeah, I was trying to. I'd seen a video scrolling through Instagram one day. It popped up in my reels, and I was like, "Oh, that makes perfect sense." I'm not. They didn't do it the way that I just explained it. They had some other way to make this mold or whatever. I don't know if they did like a pour, but you got to find something that's obviously going to be able to withstand the heat. But it's all tack welded on the back, so all the welds are on the back, and then you can flip it over once it's completely finished. And then you can buff it and polish it and clean it all up, or you can leave it, raw and rusty, or however you want to, whatever you want that look to go for.
Yeah. So I do know Donker.
Mm-mm.
He does the piston faces. He's out in, I think, the Netherlands or something like that.
Oh, okay, no, I haven't heard of him. I know Piston Face, but I don't know who Donker
Piston
is.
face. Yeah. So there's this other guy, Donker. He's on Instagram as well, and he actually did a skull with with bolts, different size bolts and stuff. And he kind of showed. He didn't really show how he got everything started, but he was showing like how he was tacking things in place, and then how he buffs everything out on the outside. He did a pretty cool piece with the bolts. He made a skull out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so much money to be made in that. We had back to Downtown Disney again. They actually had an art store in there, and it was kind of like a consignment shop. So they would work with local artists, or it's Disney, so I mean various artists. But they had one in, I think I was in welding school at the time, and I went through there. So this is 25 something years ago. I went in there and I was like, these are so simple, and they're selling for like thousands and thousands of dollars. And it was like, they just used nuts and bolts and washers and wires and all this stuff, and they just made like these different career settings. So it was like one of them was like a dentist, and it's a person made out of nuts and bolts sitting in a chair, and a dentist with like tools in their hands.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
But I mean, very basic stuff that you can just go get a handful of stuff from the hardware store, and just lay it on the table and just start like making these little mini sculptures. They had one that was like a ship. And then they had all these guys that were made out of concrete nails welded together. So kind of like stick figures made out of concrete nails.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like thousands of dollars. So I got into CrossFit for a while. And my trainer, I made him like you've seen like the whole CrossFit setup. You know, they call it the box, and you could do the pull-ups and then the deadlift and the ropes and all that stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
So I built him. I think that might be on the Metal Trends thing too. But I just made everything out of pencil rod. Like I made the box out of pencil rod, and then I made all the little characters out of concrete nails. So like you got one guy doing pull-ups, one guy's on the battle ropes, and I took 3/32 TIG wire and just clamped one in a vise and then put the other in a drill and twisted it up. And, you know, so it kind of looked like braided rope. And he had, you know, I kind of made it put character into the rope and all that. It was pretty sick, dope. Yeah. And, you know, it's kind of like wrapped around the box and all that. And then there's a dude that was doing like deadlifts, you know, so I put like 3/4 inch nuts, you know, all the way down. So it kind of looked, you know, like a 45-pound plate.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. I've actually, like I always have things in my mind, like how to, one, be different from everybody else, but two, is just think of different things and how to do things people have never even seen, hopefully, right? And I kind of want to do my logo almost in a 3D, like make it how you would make a skull, basically.
Okay. Kind of like they like plates or whatever?
Not with plates. I was thinking of like maybe using TIG wire and kind of shape it with the TIG wire, and then just maybe tack weld everything around, and then at the end weld everything and then grind it, kind of thing. But I think that would take a lot of time.
You got to get started, man.
Yeah.
Do a little bit at a time. That piece that Dusty made, I think he said it took him like 2 years to weld out. The one, if you watch his video on YouTube, it's called The Beginning. I think it was like a 2-year process just for that plate that he did. And it's freaking sick, but he called it his therapy plate or his therapy piece.
Yeah.
So whenever like he got time when he just needed to tune everything out, he'd go, you know, pull it out from underneath the table, dust it off, and, you know, just put a couple more lines on there, a couple more welds. And then he'd put it back away. And then, you know, a couple weeks later, you know, you just start working on it here and there. And like, as you go through, you know, especially a piece that takes that long, you know, you're going to get more creative. You're going to get better as you're going.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You come up with different ideas to add on or whatever you want. Right.
Yeah. And then you can't turn it off. Like you're constantly thinking about it.
Yeah.
Coming up with new creative ways to do different things.
Yeah. I try to do that all the time if I can, like, and sometimes it gets pretty hard, like, because there's not a lot of things that isn't being done. Like everything pretty much has been done, right? So it's either you're going to copy someone, and I never want to do that. I never want to ever be like, oh, this guy copied what I just did, you know, and have someone else pissed off at you. So I try to change something in there if I can to make it different. But most of the stuff's been done, so it's pretty hard.
Yeah, that's the hard thing is coming up with something new.
Yeah.
Original ideas are always the hardest.
They are.
And then usually, like, I'll get an idea in the shower, and then I'll forget about it by the time I get out. That's usually when it happens.
Yeah, I feel, yeah.
I need like a dry erase board in the shower. That's for some reason the shower is where I always come up with like my best thoughts, and then by the time I get out, get dried off and everything, it's like it's just gone.
Yeah, that's like my wife always says, like, man, you take longer in the shower than any woman I've ever known. But that's the thing. It's like I'll get in there and you think about shit, and it's like you're standing there, you know, showering. Next thing you know, half an hour's gone. You're like, oh, I got to get to work.
Yeah. It's a creative place.
It is. Yeah.
So what are you working on any pieces right now?
I do have a piece for, I don't know if you've heard of her, Tatted Cat. Mm-mm. She does a lot of, like painting for cars and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So she had contacted me and said, hey, you know, she saw a piece that I did, and I was so honored that I've actually had 2 people contact me. The other guy was Mark Wolfpack. Do you know him?
No.
He's out in the UK.
Okay.
So he contacted me and he's like, hey, I really want a piece of yours on my wall. really? Like, I don't know. I just, if somebody said that to Dabs, I could see that, kind of thing. Like, these are the big guys, And when he said that to me, I was just kind of like, really? I don't know. Sure, right? And it took me back because he was like, I want your logo. So what he wanted was, I did a lion clock. I'll actually show it to you right now. I don't know if you saw this one. This piece here.
Yeah, I watched your reel the other day when you were putting the clock face on it.
Yeah, so he saw that and he was like, "Hey, man, I really like the fact that it's what did he say? Art that he called it something. I can't remember the words he used, but functioning art. That's what he said." So I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you mind doing me your logo in a clock that I could put up?" I was like, "Well, why don't we do your logo or something?" He's like, "No, I want yours." Okay, sounds good, right? And that kind of made it more special for me because, one, it's my logo and I love my logo. So for someone to ask for that, I would have expected them to say, I want my logo, not yours, kind of thing. So it meant a little bit more to me that he actually asked for my logo. And after I was done that, I had Tatted Cat see that and she's like, "Yeah, you know what? I want a piece of yours." I was like, "All right, sounds good." So yeah, that's the next one I'm working on.
So word spreading.
And then, I have one for the Hells Angels. They want a clock as well. So that's in the works as well.
Yeah, I seen you did their logo before, right?
Yeah, I've done 3 pieces for them, which actually 2 of them, the first one I did was just kind of a flat piece, the normal way.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other 2, what I did was I cut out. So I welded the inside and I cut out another plate on the top and welded that piece on top. So it looks like you're looking into the piece.
Okay.
And then the third one I did was I actually cut out their death head and put that on top of the back and then welded on the back piece as well.
Oh, okay. Do you have a stud welder?
No, I don't.
You should look into those. You could probably get one at, I don't know if you guys got Harbor Freight up there, but like, you know what I'm talking about?
We have something like that.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? You can weld like little studs on the back.
Yeah.
Because that would help, you could stack things and layer it and, kind of build it out with the whole 3-dimensional, but then everything's the same exact height symmetrically, and then you're not getting a whole lot of heat input, so you're not changing the color on the front, because if you were to like weld like a small tab or something on there, like you're going to see the heat input on the other side and you're going to have to buff it out.
That's true. Yeah. Actually, that's a good idea. I think when I was at FabTech in Toronto, there was a place that was using a stud welder.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might reach out to them and see if they want to shoot me one and I'll demo it for them.
Yeah, because some of them you get the studs or whatever, you can have threading on the back.
Yeah, that's right.
So then you can like bolt on or whatever, or through bolt, you can kind of set the depth and all that stuff going from one piece to the next.
That's a wicked idea, actually.
That's like I'm thinking about different ways because I have, we're as part of the Underground Metalworks school that we're opening up, up another facility in there that's WeldWorks Training Center. And so with WeldWorks Training Center, it's all essentially like WeldWorks Training Center will own Underground Metalworks, but we also do testing. So welding certification, all that stuff. So I want to we've got like this kind of like a barn style door in the back that separates our shop from the people next door. And so we got to keep that, that gateway or that doorway closed all the time. So it's got like a farm or like a barn door right now. So you can just slide it back and forth, but it's just like steel grating. So you can see through. And I was like, nah, I don't want that. I want something cool. So I want to build like this massive, it's going to be like probably like a 10-foot by 7-foot door, but have the logo, our WeldWorks Training Center logo, but have it 3-dimensional, so it's sticking out different layers. Cause there's like, there's an anchor, there's an American flag, then there's the words. Ben from BT Create did our logo. He did a freaking awesome job. I just want to take that logo and kind of make it 3-dimensional and stack it out because we're going to have a CNC plasma cutter. So I can cut everything right there. And then I can use that stud welder to kind of like layer everything with different depths and bolt it together and all that.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. There's actually another guy out in France, I want to say. And what he does is he gets these drawings of whatever, like a lion, dog, and he cuts them out of aluminum. And what he does, he stacks them all together and then welds them from the inside. And it will make that animal or whatever it is at the end.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's the dude Lou from Metal Shop Masters. Have you seen his work?
No.
He kind of does that, where it's like separated plates and they're all different sizes, but he does it all on like a CNC plasma. Yeah. And then you've got like a center point or whatever, and like you stack all these plates in a specific order, and it makes a 3D image. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's exactly it. So that's not what you're talking about, though, right?
No, it's well, I think it's the same type of work, different person. But yeah, that's not what we're wanting to do for the door.
Yeah. Okay. It's different. Okay.
Yeah. That's there's another dude on there. I can't ever remember his name, but he does like 3-dimensional animals, but it's all like small pieces of material, so like 2-inch by 3-inch, but it's kind of like bent and twisted and all that stuff. But he'll make like a bulldog or like a small horse or something like that. But it's all done out of these little small parts, and he welds everything up, and then he'll polish it all out. And it's like hollow on the inside, and it's just like small pieces of plate and different shapes and stuff that make up the animal.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's so much you can do with welded metal art.
Oh yeah, man. Like some of the people I see on there, I'm just like, man, it amazes me every day. Like the creativity of people's minds, for one, is just unreal sometimes.
Yeah. It's freaking Ivan Ilar. He's doing that scrap fest stuff right now, where they turn you loose. I think you get an hour inside of the scrap yard, and you go in and you like grab as much stuff as you can. And I think you're limited to weight, so you can only have so many pounds. And then they're like, okay, we'll see you again in 90 days. So whatever you took is what you have to use for this project. And then you bring it back, and then they have like apparently this like a big thing in the town, and it's just getting bigger every year. And then they'll line everything up along the streets, and then like people go through and they'll grade and rate each piece and figure out, who's their favorite artist that year.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty.
I'd like to start
dope.
Something like that here.
But how far are you away from Michigan?
Not far. We're 4 hours.
Okay, yeah, because that's when they do it. So you could probably go down there and check it out.
Do you know when it is?
It's going on right now, I think. But so I think they just did a couple weeks ago is when they went in and got everything, and then I think it might be 3 months from the time that it starts till the time that they go ahead and put it on display. Reach out to Ivan; he'd be able to tell you about it.
Yeah,
I'll check it out. You might be on holiday.
Yeah, I might be. Yeah, but if I can, I definitely will, because it's not that far for me. 4 hours is an easy drive.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
So I just did 4 hours last weekend. We went up to Savannah for our AWS district conference.
Oh, okay.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get you a good audiobook or a couple podcasts, and like 4 hours goes by quick.
See, for me, I love my music.
Yeah.
Nothing but music. I love it.
What kind of music are you into?
A lot of different things, but I really like, what's it called? Like Rammstein, that kind of industrial.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, industrial.
They just came out with some new stuff.
Yeah, I actually went and saw them for their tour when they came out in Montreal.
Oh, how was that show?
Dude, there's not a band out there in my mind that can ever compare to them.
Really?
Their show is, oh yeah, dude. Like, I've seen a lot of bands. I've seen Tool, and Tool is really good.
Tool's a performance. It's not a concert. That's a performance.
Yeah. These guys will eat them out of the water. Like, just their performance is top notch. If there's a band, I would say for anybody in the world to go and see a Rammstein.
I'd love to see them, but I don't think they tour in the U.S. anymore. So I'd have to go like Canada, I guess, because the pyrotechnics that they use I don't know, it could be an urban myth or like just a rumor, but the pyrotechnics that they do, like they can't do it when they come to the United States. So they're like, okay, we just won't tour there. Well, because
Why
of
is
like
that?
all the fire codes or whatever. Like I said, it could be all bullshit. It could be bullshit, but that's what I heard when I was growing up because I wanted to see them because they performed.
It could be.
Because they do a lot with pyro.
Oh man, they have a guitar that just on fire. The guy is on fire. Like I think I posted some stuff on my Destructive Asylum 13 page when I was at the concert, and you can kind of see part of the show there. Yeah, their show is amazing.
Yeah, because I seen a video of one of their shows. It was like the oh damn it, I think it was the Korn Freak on a Leash tour or no?
Yeah.
All in the Family tour. I think it was All in the Family, but they had like Rammstein, they had Ice Cube. I mean, like there was a whole Family Jewels. I think it was something. Yeah, it might have been the Family Jewels tour. Yeah, it was pretty dope. But I remember watching that back in high school.
Yeah.
No, I'd love to go see Rammstein. So I'm going to see what is it? July, the end of July. I'm going to see Mudvayne, Guar, and Coal Chamber.
Oh yeah.
So that should be a pretty good show.
How far are you from Canada? Like, whereabouts are you?
I'm in Orlando, Florida. So, like, remember when you came down for Ink the Bay?
Fuck.
Yeah.
So my mother-in-law has a place in West Palm Beach.
Okay.
And we usually go down there every so often. But I've been to Disney too. So it was about an hour from where we were.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry. Did you say 3? 3 hours. Sorry.
Oh, 3 hours.
3 hours.
Yeah, that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
I went down to West Palm to do when I got scuba certified.
Oh, okay. Man, you must love the weather there.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Do you get to go to the beaches a lot, or?
I try to stay away from the beach. I mean, unless I'm like scuba diving or like fishing. Yeah, I don't like getting in. Yeah, just get sand everywhere. It's a pain in the ass.
But the salt water is so good for you.
Yeah, salt water's good for you.
I'm so surprised that it's so weird. It's like people that actually live there don't get to go, and then there's people like us live so far, and it was like all the time need to be there.
Yeah. Well, I'm a ginger, man. I'm allergic to the sun, so like I try to stay out of the sun as much as possible. There's no shade on the beach. You got to bring your own shade.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I like doing saltwater fishing and stuff like that. I like offshore fishing, all that good stuff. Scuba diving.
Yeah.
Like we'll go out to the ocean. I don't know, probably once or twice throughout the year. I mean, my kids love it. My wife loves it, so I'll go out there. I'll tolerate it. But Clearwater, where you guys came out for Ink the Bay, like that Tampa area.
Yeah.
Clearwater, I think they've got the best beaches in the state.
Oh, okay.
And then Sanibel Island, like that's another good spot. The East Coast is kind of, I don't know, because it's right up against the Atlantic. It's the water's just kind of dark and dirty, and you get a lot more tourists on that side, spring breakers and stuff.
Yeah,
but Clearwater's like the nicer area.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind for next time.
Yeah, man, come on down. Beaches are open year round.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say if you were closer. I mean, Florida's not even that far of a drive. It actually took me 17 hours. It's a 21-hour drive, but it took me 17 hours to get down there. It's not that bad of a drive.
That's you're hauling ass.
Oh, I was. Yeah, I was doing like 2+ miles per hour.
2 miles. What?
No, sorry. 179, 200 kilometers is what?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Probably pretty quick. I can pull it up.
Yeah. Wow, that's what I was doing the whole way from here to there was 220 kilometers an hour.
Damn, I gotta look that up. I gotta convert.
Probably like maybe 110 miles per hour.
Holy shit!
What is it?
Oh, hold on. I gotta find my. You said 220.
Yeah, 220, 230.
Of course, I got a freaking ad because it's a free app. All right. I should know this. I don't work in metric a whole lot though. 136 miles an hour. Holy
Doesn't
fuck.
seem that fast.
It doesn't seem that fast. Were you on a bike?
No, my bike.
My wife's Kia Sorento. Damn, that's quick. And you're coming down 95. You got to watch Georgia, dude. Georgia doesn't play. Georgia and Virginia.
See, so I don't really know the rules, and it is kind of stupid of me to go and do stupid shit like that. But again, it's exciting too, right? But yeah, because my wife was always like, every time I'm driving, she's like, "Oh my God, you got to slow down. They're going to take away your license and this and that." I'm like, I don't think they have that in the States, because here in Canada, if you're 50 over, your car is impounded. You're for I think it's 7 days, and your license is suspended for 30 days. So I do you guys have something like that there?
Well, yeah, I think if you double the speed limit, you're going to jail. Like no ifs, ands, or buts.
Oh shit!
Yeah, if you double the speed limit,
Really?
you're going to jail. I think anything less than that, I think it's just up to their discretion. Knock on wood, I've had one speeding ticket when I was 16, and I had a warning when I was like 25. But luckily, because I'm like 5'10" over, I try to stay in that area.
Yeah. Yeah, everywhere I go here, it's like 20 over. And if it's on my bike, man, the cops are not catching me.
Jeez. Yeah, because Florida, they won't pursue you.
Yeah, here I've gotten chased here a few times. Oh, yeah.
They're not going to catch you, though.
Nah, they never do. Gear down, pretend you're stopping, boom, gone.
I won't ride, man. There's this, it's nuts.
Oh, it's pretty bad here, too.
Florida's like one area where like I don't understand how people. It's hard enough to get around in a regular car or truck and everything, but on a bike, it's not a question of if, it's when. Just because like the other drivers, it's bad.
It's so weird. When I was driving in West Palm Beach, I noticed the people there are so much crazier. But when we were in the Bay, everybody was so calm. Mm-hmm. Like the driving from the two spots are so different. It's unbelievable.
Well, Florida's a really weird spot to drive, and it's because it's more of a melting pot. So you get a lot of people that move from out of state or they're on vacation. So you've got all these different driving habits and methods and, all that shit like kind of congealed into one. So it's weird, like you got people from all over. So when, and Florida drivers are assholes too. So the funny thing, we went and, when I was with Weld.com, we built this grill for Sam the cooking guy and drove it out to San Diego. As soon as we got out of Florida, it was like, oh man, like drivers on the road, they're actually pretty cool. Like if you put your blinker on in Florida, it's like a challenge. They're like, you're not getting over here before I can get up to where you can't get in. That's
hilarious.
But like, and so we get to California and all I hear is like how bad California traffic is and this, that, and everything. And it wasn't great. But mind you, I've got a 16-foot trailer, and we're running like a Ford F-250. And as soon as I put my blinker on, like cars would slow down and let me merge in. And it completely baffled me because in Florida, like I said, it's like a challenge. It's like, oh, no, you don't. Like everybody speeds up. And it's like, just let people in. Like I slow down. I'm never in a big enough hurry to where I can't let somebody get in. It's like, okay, you got to merge? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, when I'm driving or riding, I don't know. It feels like a race for some reason. I have no clue why. It's like my wife always jokes around and says, we can never ever be late for anything. We'll have a family friend say, "Oh, I'll be here for 6:30," and we're like, "Okay, we're always the first ones there every time," and we're like, "Okay, we'll leave at 5:30 or 6, whatever, and have like 10 minutes that we're gonna be late." And no, I'm always on time
because you're speeding.
Yeah.
So I rode my brother-in-law had a Honda 600RR bike motorcycle, and that was like the first time I've ridden a street bike. And I took it around the block or whatever. I think I got it up to like 55 mile an hour, like nothing too serious, but like I'd never ridden a motorcycle before. But it was just like so smooth and so easy to ride. And so I brought it back and like I got off, my hands were shaking because I was like excited. I was like, that's freaking awesome. And I told my wife, I was like, I want one, but I won't get one because I know that I'll do something stupid. Like I'll get on it and I'll like haul ass and all that. I know myself.
Man, honestly, to tell the truth, I don't even know how I'm still alive today. It's unbelievable. Like I could tell you some stories that would scare the crap out of you. Literally scared the crap out of me. Mm-hmm. And I still go out and do it every time. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just some people that they're built for it. My stepdad rides, my dad rides, my uncle, that's all he's done his entire life was work on motorcycles and ride motorcycles.
Yeah. It's a whole different feeling.
Yeah.
It is.
I know it's just not for me. I like four wheels.
Yeah.
So like
I get that.
dune buggies, four wheelers, souped up trucks, like all that stuff. Yeah, I like that. rock crawlers,
That's cool.
side-by-sides, all that good shit. Like my buddy had a dirt bike. We went out on that. I wasn't too keen on that one.
Yeah. Those are a little bit dangerous too, actually.
Oh, yeah, especially like riding out in the woods.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like actually, it's so easy to die on those even because you don't know your terrain.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going and you hit something, boom, you're gone, right?
Yeah, it's not like a regular street where you can like kind of foresee what's coming up.
Yeah, like on a street, you can actually see, well, and the road's mostly flat, right? So if you could see a pothole, and when you're on a dirt bike, it's very hard. And if you're going at a good speed, man, by the time you actually see something, you're done.
Yeah, it's too late.
Yeah, way too late.
Yeah, I'll stick with the four-wheelers. So you do regular FabTech Canada, you were saying? That's
was
in
my
Toronto,
first
right?
time. Yeah, this was my first time last year I did it.
Okay. I want to get up to that one because Max was saying like the can weld is kind of like a smaller version of FabTech.
Of it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But, dude, yeah, if you ever come down, let me know. I'll take you out down here.
Okay. As long as I'm not riding the back of the bike with you.
No. Nobody rides on the back of the bike. I don't want nobody's life on my hands, man. Just me.
But yeah, I'd love to come up there and check that one out.
Yeah, even if it's not for FabTech, if you're ever around, hit me up.
Okay.
Take you around down here, show you some stuff, take you to the falls, Niagara Falls,
Yeah, that'd be cool. I've never seen that. And I'm originally from Northeastern Ohio. I've never seen Niagara Falls. Yeah,
it's pretty cool. So there's a few things here and there to do close by. So yeah, if you're ever in the area, hit me up for sure.
Okay. Yeah, likewise, man. You come down here quite a bit, so let me know.
Yeah, we're always down there.
Okay. Yeah, hit me up. Before we get out of here, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on your different social medias?
So I'm on Instagram with Destructive Asylum 13 Fab, and also known as Tig Devil. And then I'm on TikTok as well, Tig_Devil. And Facebook, I have 2 pages, Tig Devil Arts and Tig Devil.
Well, cool, man. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on the podcast.
Man, thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, man.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully we get to do it again sometime soon. We don't have to do a podcast, but
I'm sure.
If you ever just want to shoot the shit,
yeah,
I'm always down.
Okay. Likewise, you get my contact info.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, brother.
All right.
All right, ladies and gents, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. I hope you all enjoyed the conversation between Diesel and I. If you're enjoying the episodes, please do me a favor and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really helps others find the show. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Stay safe out there, and until next time, make every weld better than your last.